afternoon, or evening, everybody in my YouTube community, and welcome to Halloween Horror Movie Review Season 2! Yeah, so, before we get started on Episode 1, I need to explain some things. One, this season is going to be a little different. Because you all know last year there were no new movies coming out, and so I was able to review a lot of horror movies. However, this year's different. People are adjusting to this new virus as a normal disease, things are reopening up. So you know what that means, guys? Yeah, movies are coming out again, and there are quite a few coming out this October. Some have already gotten a delay, like the Paramount ones, but there's still quite a lot still coming out this month, so this season might be a little bit short this year, but that's also why I'm going to be starting it a week early. So this might be maybe there'll be 4 episodes per week this season. It won't likely be just movie reviews. There will also likely be some, I might possibly do 31, but I might have to think about it. But anyway, with that being said, what's going to be episode 1 of this year's? Well, let's make episode 1 a movie I have forgotten to review last year. This is going to be for a film from Clive Barker, came out in 1987, inspired so many shitty direct-to-DVD sequels. Yeah, I think you guess what it is. This year, it's Hellraiser, directed by Clive Barker, and stars Doug Bradley as the iconic character Pinhead. Yeah, we're going to kick off this season with Hellraiser, one of the most violent horror movies of the 1980s. And I first saw it with my folks, guys. Yeah, whatever. But anyway, what's the plot of this movie? Well, when Kirsty's father Larry and stepmother Julia move into Larry's childhood home, Kirsty and her boyfriend take a room nearby. Unfortunately for all involved, Larry's house is accidentally occupied. Before the family's arrival, Larry's disreputable brother Frank used a supernatural puzzle box to summon a gang of other dimensional demon sadists known as the Cenobites, led by Pinhead. Now, Frank requires a series of blood sacrifices to escape the clutches of Pinhead and the Cenobites. Yeah. I just love everything about this movie. The writing is remarkable. Clive Barker literally gives the viewer plan into their own desires and determinations, and he tears them apart with fear, pain, death, destruction, and total degradation. The Conant family are the perfect example of purity, torn to shreds by hate, lust, and anguish, and he takes great glee in showing us all the gory details. Yeah, this is probably one of the goriest horror movies of the 1980s, and probably inspired quite a few those sadistic horror films we would get in the early 2000s, like Saw, Hostel, etc., High Tension, Wolf Creek, those films. However, this movie is not really a torture porn movie. It's more of a demon movie. Hellraiser has a lot going on for a 90-minute film, and it's amazing that it accomplishes everything it sets out to do. It does help that it has a fairly small amount of characters and takes place in mainly one location. The performances, specifically Claire Higgins as Julia, are far better than average for a film of this sort, and the special effects are pretty terrific and gruesome. The entire film is a darkly sexual vibe throughout that's sure to make people really uncomfortable. They go really disturbing with this stuff. It's not corny like a lot of demonic films today, no. All the actors in general just do a great job portraying their characters. Robinson makes himself seem like the most humble father a child could ask for. Higgins and Chapman show great chemistry on screen as well. Slowly over the running time, viewers see the transition that takes over Higgins' character as she goes from lonely to shocked to lustful. On the other hand, Sean Chapman as Frank gives a very good performance as Frank, who's the battered soul he is. He too carries great lust for Julia and shows how desperate he is to have her again. It's pretty amazing that Julia would ever want to join him again. However, the character with the most guts in this film would have to be Kirsty Cotton, played by Ashley Lawrence. For all the horror films that have been released, it is rare that audiences would ever come across a strong female protagonist in the 80s. in an 80s horror film. Like, for Lawrence's first starring role, there's a lot of credits could be given to her for conveying her character so well, and especially the fact that Lawrence is very attractive in this picture, and she's not really a scream queen all the time either. Like, her brazenness by far surpasses many other female characters in our horror franchises. However, I think there's one character I didn't really like, and that would probably have to be the boyfriend. Like, he was probably the most unnecessary character throughout. He didn't really do anything the whole time during the film. He wasn't always a step behind everyone else, so why bother even have him in the movie? Like, and now for the big characters I love the most. Pinhead and the Cenobites. Man, Pinhead and the Cenobites are absolutely terrifying in this movie. They really well portrayed them. I think this is the best portrayal they've had in this movie. Like, they are not just ordinary slasher killers. They're actual demons that do not like to be fucked with. And whenever anybody tries to, like, fuck with their box or even tries to cheat them, they will not hesitate. If you're, like, in their realm, and if you even try to escape, they will not hesitate to track you down, find you, and to straight up have you taken to their realm and have you tortured to pieces. And probably may be even more sadistic if you even try to escape them. Like, they really, really mean business. Like, Doug Bradley really gives a very good, terrifying performance as Pinhead. I think he was the best portrayal of Pinhead in this series. Like, and along with these characters are some of the most disturbing imagery used throughout any film. Some of it's just really blood-curdling. Tearing skin off a human body may not be some people's cup of tea, but to me it is, as long as it's done right. And there was also another scene I found quite eerie, but it was never explained what it meant. Like, it's basically that scene involving Kirsty with the background noise of a baby crying. It definitely is probably a very terrifying scene, which was definitely good, but I kind of wish they showed the significance of it, and it never really was explained. Now, however, despite that flaw, that's Kirsty's useless boyfriend, which leaves me kind of... However, despite that one flaw, I actually really like this, and I think it's one of the best horror movies of the 80s. I recommend checking it out if you're a gore hound and a horror fan. However, when I mean that, I mean only watch the first... No, just watch the first one. Watch the first two, because Hellbound Hellraiser 2 is actually probably the only good of the sequels. Yes, this movie has so many damn sequels I can't even count. And only one that really stands out is just Hellbound Hellraiser 2, and that's it. That's the only sequel you should watch. I would skip the rest of them. They're not worth it. Just watch this movie and Hellbound Hellraiser 2. Those are the only ones that count. That's the only sequel that's canon to me. And to a lot of horror fans anyways. But, however, despite that, Clive Barker's first one was a classic. It should not be passed up. The actors, special effects, and music work together to create a perfectly cohesive story that's a fresh look at the horror genre. So yeah, once again, check it out. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and here's how I'm going to rank it. I am going to give Hellraiser a 9 out of 10. Alright, and with that wraps up episode 1. So, let me just put Hellraiser back. Go there. Okay, it's settled there. Alright, so, what's going to be episode 2? Well, I'll show you what episode 2 is going to be next. Yep, this is going to be episode 2. Because this year is going to be some gory horror films this year. So yeah, Hostel was going to be is the next episode of Halloween horror movie reviews. So, but yeah, I'll just put her back. Yeah, the Mel's a little crooked. Here we go. But anyway, yeah. Now I know next year. No, not next year. To next episode. But until then, that'll be it for this video for episode 1. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.